Full Black Ops 7 Zombies gameplay has released. A variety of creators got to play it at Call of Duty Next recently, and so we were able to see quite a lot of the Ashes of the Damned experience, just of course without the Easter eggs turned on. They were playing a very limited version of the map. I believe even some of the areas of the map weren't available, but we got to see the general flow of the early rounds of the map. We got to see what the game itself will look like, what the HUD will look like, what the weapons will look like, what some of the in-game sounds are like, what the mechanics are like, and pretty much all of that. Of course, they were playing on standard mode, they were not playing on cursed mode, but I wanted to do a video going over my full honest thoughts on the gameplay because I have a lot of positives and also a lot of negatives to talk about. I'm going to try to stay focused on the stuff that they showed us within Call of Duty Next itself. If it's stuff I already talked about in previous videos and they didn't really talk about it or add anything to it during Call of Duty Next, I'm not going to be focusing on it in this video. Let's start off with the positives. One of the main things I've been saying ever since the Ashes of the Damned trailer released was that the map looks visually gorgeous. By far the best looking zombies map since Black Ops 4. It really does actually look like a zombies map. There is no comparing it to multiplayer or Warzone or any of that. Of course, a lot of people did that last year with Liberty Falls, and that was somewhat understandable because the map didn't have a lot of interesting visuals to it, whereas this map has a ton of interesting visuals. The skybox looks amazing, the map locations themselves are really interesting, and even in this gameplay they didn't get to explore everything. We didn't even get to see what the diner will look like on the map itself or the Ascension area. We only saw a couple of locations such as the spawn area, the farm, the snowy cabin, as well as the western town. And there just isn't a single area that looks bad. Everything looks really interesting and unique, and I like that each area actually has its own biome to it, like especially the cabin area. It has this whole snowy aesthetic to it, but the rest of the map doesn't have that. I love when maps do that, when they actually try to make each location feel very different and unique from each other. I think the best maps are built in a way to where you can see one image of that area and you immediately know where you are no matter what. I think that's the best way to make it easy to get around the map, but it also makes it so it's more interesting to explore the map. It always sucks when you're exploring a map and the whole map just kind of looks the same, like it just a bunch of rooms that just look the same. It becomes not as interesting, but if you have areas that feel very unique and different, then it's actually quite fun to explore the map. I also love the fact that the map has an actual power quest, and it seems to be a pretty interesting quest where each point of interest has its own power switch that you have to activate. And it seems like there's a little lockdown quest you have to do in order to activate the power. Now, it does suck that there are the markers that tell you exactly where to go. It tells you exactly what to do. I really wish those weren't there. I wish they just trusted players to figure that out, and then if they couldn't figure it out, they could just wait for directed mode to tell them exactly how to do it. I really don't like the objective markers, but regardless, they're there. I just like the fact that there's actually a power quest, because Black Ops 6 didn't really do that crazy of a power quest for majority of their maps. Most of the maps didn't even have a power quest. So it's nice to see that there's actually something you can do to activate the power in each area. The Wonder Vehicle looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, because this was a limited version of the game, it doesn't seem like there was all of the customization available within this Call of Duty Next build, but in general, it just looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to drive that thing from location to location, and you can actually call it in from different locations. So if you don't have it with you, but you want to have it with you, you can call it in from specific areas, and I'm glad they have that as a system. It definitely will make it less annoying to traverse the map, especially because this map is meant to be pretty big. There's a lot of areas to explore. Something I noticed in the gameplay that really excited me is the fact that you actually get 150 points for meleeing a zombie in the head. So of course, a lot of you may know that they decreased the amount of points you get for melee kills in Black Ops 6 down to 105. It used to be 115 in Cold War, and before that in the older zombies games, it was 130. They just kept decreasing the amount of points you get for melee kills over the years, and I never understood why. I mean, meleeing is obviously harder than using your gun. It's more risky, so I always thought it makes sense to give you more points, but now they are actually going to give you 150 points for killing a zombie with a melee weapon if you melee them in the head, if you get a melee critical kill. And of course, I do hope this carries over into the cursed mode, which of course will have the classic point system. And unfortunately, that's pretty much all of the positives I have to say about Ashes of the Damned itself, just based on what they've shown us and what we didn't already know previously about the map. Obviously, there was a lot of cool stuff they revealed in the initial gameplay reveal, but Call of Duty Next didn't really say a lot of new things about zombies that excited me. In terms of the gameplay, it didn't really show much new, and that's okay. We're going to get to play it for ourselves in a few days within the Zombies beta. At least we're going to get to play the farm survival map, and then when it comes to playing the full game, that's where we're going to discover all the Easter eggs and all the side quests, which I think will make the map obviously a lot better. And obviously I'm mostly excited for cursed mode more than anything, and of course they didn't show any cursed mode in this footage. So of course, just because I don't have way more positive things to say about the gameplay that was released, it does not mean I'm not excited for this game or that I think it looks bad. I still think the majority of this game looks bad, but there were more things from this gameplay that I had criticism with than I didn't. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about two other really positive things that they mentioned within the Call of Duty Next event. These things have nothing to do with the core gameplay though, they were just overall things about zombies. First of all, in Season 1 of Black Ops 7, we are going to have one standard map, one brand new standard map, and we're going to have two new survival maps, which this is really good news because a lot of fans were worried that we were only going to get a few survival maps throughout the season. But if we're going to get two survival maps in the first season, that means we're likely going to get a lot of survival maps throughout this year. Now, we have no idea what those survival maps are going to be. Are they going to be points of interest taken from Ashes of the Damned, extra ones beyond just the farm location, or are they going to be locations taken from the new standard map that's going to come with Season 1, which most likely will be the New York City World War II themed map. Personally, I think it's probably going to be one survival map from each map. I think they'll probably take one location from Ashes of the Damned, probably like the Ascension location, and then one location from the new New York City map. I just hope Cursed mode is available on the survival maps because honestly, if it's not, that's going to be a massive disappointment. And the last positive are the camos. The camos look amazing. Now, I feel like the camos usually look pretty good, but they look especially great this year. There's Golden Dragon, there's Bloodstone, Doomsteel, and Infestation. I mean, the camos across the board look really good, but the zombies ones in particular look amazing. I'm probably going to be grinding for them this year, especially if the grind is fun to do in Cursed mode, because I would like to play Cursed mode for the majority of the year. But yeah, these camos look fantastic. Now let's get into the negatives, and unfortunately, my biggest issue with this gameplay is the HUD. I do not like the look of this HUD whatsoever. I don't think it fits zombies at all. I don't think it works for this game. I think some of the elements look too similar to Black Ops 6, and there's a variety of other issues I have with it, and I want to be absolutely clear. I don't think the HUD itself looks bad. It just looks bad for zombies. It was clearly made for multiplayer. That is the purpose of this HUD, and it quite literally is the multiplayer HUD copy and pasted into zombies. It looks fine for that. It actually looks awesome. I think it's one of the coolest multiplayer HUDs we've seen in a long time, but it does not fit zombies. I think pretty much every single zombies HUD since Black Ops 4 has just not been very good, and I never really understood why this has been such a consistent problem. And I do think it has been getting better since Black Ops Cold War. It was a much improved HUD in Black Ops 6. It still wasn't great. It wasn't nearly as good as it should be, but the HUD customization went a long way because it actually allowed you to remove a lot of the things that we didn't want to see on the screen back in Black Ops Cold War. And Black Ops 7 is obviously going to have the HUD customization again, which is very good, but it does not change the fact that the HUD itself, the theming of it, just doesn't fit zombies. So let's go a little bit more in depth into each of my points of why I don't like this HUD. So first of all, like I said, it's practically the same HUD as the Black Ops 7 multiplayer HUD, which really does work with that futuristic style that the multiplayer is going for, but zombies isn't futuristic. It has futuristic weapons in it, of course, because we're using the Black Ops 7 guns, but the mode itself isn't meant to be this futuristic feeling game. It's in the dark ether. There's nothing futuristic about that. And even though I really didn't like the Cold War and Black Ops 6 HUD, at least those HUDs were so generic that they were able to fit zombies and multiplayer. I still don't like them because of how generic they were, but now that we have an actual really interesting and inspired HUD for multiplayer, it doesn't work for zombies at all. Like, it just completely doesn't work. I also don't like the fact that the majority of the menus and UI elements are almost the same as Black Ops 6. When you actually look through the game, whether it's the menus when you first load into the game, the loading screen, or the menus of the crafting bench and the arsenal station, they all look pretty much the same, just with a futuristic coat of paint and a different font. And I just think that's kind of weird. Now, obviously people say don't change what isn't broken, but in my opinion, I don't think there should be any in-game menus. I kind of wish they got rid of those completely, but a lot of the UI elements, like for example the interact UI screen, which I think looked really bad in Black Ops 6, and unfortunately it's pretty much the exact same in Black Ops 7, just with, like I said, a futuristic theme to it and a different font. And speaking of that interact UI, can we please change that? It's this giant rectangle that you see every single time you have to interact with something, whether it's purchasing a perk, purchasing a door, picking up salvage, picking up armor plates. It has this giant blocky UI UI pop-up that goes right under your screen and covers your gun, it just does not look good. Back in the older Zombies games, any interact UI element was just simple text, and that's it, just simple words. It was very tiny, you didn't have to worry about it blocking a bunch of your screen. It was just very, very small, and that's it. But now it's a giant rectangle, which I have no idea why we need all that. If it's for the sake of accessibility, that's totally fine. Like, I understand some people just can't see that well, so having a big blocky UI element is useful for them. So have that as an accessibility option in the menus. Do not make it so it's there by default and there's no way of changing that. I feel like there should be a much smaller UI element that doesn't block up the entire screen. And a small little nitpick I have is the fact that when you inspect your weapon, the Gobblegum UI is still on the screen. This was also the case in Black Ops 6, and I have no idea why. Like, I feel like that should just go away naturally as you inspect your weapon. The entire screen should be cleared when you inspect your weapon, but that's something they can easily change with the release of this game. I will say the only positive I have for this HUD, other than the fact that it looks good for multiplayer, is the way the Gobblegums look. I actually really like how they designed the Gobblegum UI element here, and it looks much better than how it looked in Black Ops 6. Now, I know a lot of people are already running to the comments to tell me this, and of course, yes, I know. They did say there's going to be HUD themes coming to the game that changes the look of the HUD, not just the placement of it. And we have absolutely no idea what those are going to look like. They did say in the blog post that some of the elements of some of the themes are going to be familiar to those with a long appreciation to Call of Duty Zombies. So that does imply that these HUD themes will probably be very similar to some of the older Zombies games. But here's my issue. I'm worried they're just going to say, oh, here's a Black Ops 1 Zombies HUD that you can use, or here's a Black Ops 3 Zombies HUD you can use, and they'll just kind of throw it in the game, because I don't want a HUD that wasn't specifically made for this game. I think it needs to be a HUD specifically made for Black Ops 7 Zombies. That's what they did in the past. When a new Zombies came out, they said, okay, we're going to sit down and make a HUD specifically for this game, sometimes even specifically for maps. I mean, Black Ops 2 had different HUDs for Mob of the Dead, Buried, and Origins, and then Black Ops 3 had a different HUD for Shadows of Evil compared to the rest of the game. They've done that before, but I'm not saying they even have to do all that with having different HUDs per map. Just have a HUD that's unique to Black Ops 7 Zombies, and that should be the default HUD. I see no reason why they should have this HUD be the default HUD for the mode, and then say, okay, if you want another HUD, then we're going to give you some HUDs from the past and you can just use those instead. No, they should make a HUD specifically for Black Ops 7 Zombies. Again, it's just what they always did in the past, and I don't really see why that stopped happening. I really never understood it. It's obviously not easy to make a quick HUD, I completely understand that, but this game has been in development for a while, and they definitely know this is something that fans want. Fans want a HUD specifically tailor-made for the game, and I think that would be amazing to see. And there is one piece of HUD customization I think we absolutely need. Personally, I think this should be the case by default, but I really think there should be an option to make it so the score feed is right next to the points like it was in the classic games, especially with the classic point system in curse mode. I think it would be awesome to see the score feed coming out of the points just like it did in those older games. I really don't like it in the middle of the screen. In Black Ops 6, I completely turned off the score feed, but I just can't see a score feed anywhere on the screen. I just want to see it where it was in the older games. I think it would look so much better. And one more thing I want to mention about the HUD is that I really do think they should make the default HUD way simpler. And if you want to add extra things like the damage point numbers, the health bars, and all of that, you can choose to do that in the settings instead of the way it is now where it starts with all that stuff. And if you want to turn it off, you can. And the reason I say that is because the vast majority of casual fans have no idea HUD customization exists. I know this because if you look in comment sections on YouTube videos or on TikTok comment sections on posts about Black Ops 6 Zombies or Black Ops 7, a lot of people will criticize the health bars and the damage point numbers and all of that stuff. They'll just keep complaining about it. People in the comments will tell them, hey, you can turn that off, and they'll be like, oh, I had no clue. A lot of people don't know about HUD customization. It's not because they're stupid, it's because the vast majority of people who play video games don't spend their time looking through the settings. People just don't do that. The only reason we know about that is because we're very integrated into the Call of Duty community to the point where we hear about stuff before it even happens. We knew about the HUD customization stuff because we watched the reveal event for Black Ops 6 Zombies, and we knew that was going to carry into Black Ops 7, and we spend so much time with these games that we're willing to look through the menus for a long time to try and tailor the experience to exactly how we want it to be, but casuals aren't going to do that. And let's be honest, majority of people do not like how that stuff looks. I don't think majority of people like health bars, damage point numbers, and all that stuff in their Zombies experience, at least when it comes to people who used to be a fan of Zombies back in the day and were used to not having all that stuff. Maybe the newer fans don't care, but I think majority of the fans back in the day, they don't like that stuff. So if they come back back to try out zombies and they see all these health bars and damage point numbers, they're going to be turned off from the mode pretty much from the get-go. And I think first impressions are really important. So I especially feel that way when it comes to the zombies gameplay that was shown off at COD Next. I think it would look much better and people will be happier with it and they'd have a better first impression of the mode if the HUD was simpler from the start. Now, thankfully, some of the YouTubers that were playing did turn off some HUD elements, specifically NoahJ456. If you go to his channel, his second channel, and you watch the gameplay there, you're going to see some footage of it here. You can actually see that the HUD elements, he turned a lot of it off, so it looks a lot cleaner than some of the HUD elements from some of the other creators. And it's nothing against the other creators, by the way. It's totally fine if you like those HUD elements on or if you don't really mind having them on, but I just think the game looks a lot cleaner with some of them off, and I think it makes the game look more interesting to the average person. I think people are more likely to get invested in it with more of those HUD elements turned off. And this is not just a Call of Duty Zombies thing. This is a video game thing in general. I can't tell you how many times people love how a video game looks, and the second the official gameplay releases for it and it has a really bad HUD that is just filled with HUD elements all over the screen, no matter if that game has HUD customization or not, people are instantly turned off. People want an immersive experience. And this doesn't really go for PvP games. This is specifically like a PvE sort of a thing, especially for games that are intended to be a little immersive. Having less HUD elements is always better. There's a reason Rockstar games love to have very simple HUDs. You play a game like Red Dead Redemption 2, the HUD is very, very simple by default. There's barely anything on your screen because they know how immersive that is. They know how amazing it looks like that. And I really think Zombies should try to do that again because Zombies used to do that back in the day. Zombies used to have such a simple HUD right from the get-go. And of course, you can make that yourself. I know that, but the average person doesn't. And I really want Zombies to succeed as much as possible. And I really think it would have better publicity, especially after events like this, if they just had those elements turned off for when they showed it off to the audience. The next piece of criticism is something that is definitely subject to change because this actually happened last year where I had this similar issue, but it ended up not being a problem with the full game because they just changed it for launch. And this is the fact that there are a lot of sounds in this game that are stripped right from Black Ops 6 Zombies. For example, the mystery box sound.
Like waiting for Christmas morning. I will probably be disappointed.
It is literally the Black Ops 6 Zombies mystery box sound. It was also the sound that the mystery box had in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. And the reason I'm so against that, not only do I want it to change because I honestly don't like the sound it makes in Black Ops 6 all that much, but also we have a different design for the mystery box now. So you'd think they would change up the sound. It doesn't have to be the original mystery box music. It could even just be the Origins mystery box sound or something else entirely, but it's quite literally the same one from Black Ops 6. So I hope that changes. And there's a couple other sound cues within the gameplay that I heard that sound right from BO6. So I do hope that some of that changes for the full game, but it's kind of more of a nitpick than anything. Unfortunately, the pause timer is also back. This was a new feature added into Black Ops 6 where when you pause the game, you can only pause it for 15 minutes in that match and that's it. You can't keep pausing it for longer than that. I honestly don't know why this has to be there. I do think it's probably some sort of technical thing. Of course, I love the save and quit feature. That is great. And so that's basically what people use as their own way to pause the game. But we all know when you save and quit, it will bring you back to the start of the current round that you're on. So if you got pretty far through the round, you're going to want to finish that round. And sometimes you're in a situation where you have to quickly go somewhere, but you're not at the end of that round yet. But maybe you're really far into the game. So you're at a point where rounds are pretty long and you don't want to save and quit before finishing that round. So now you're in a situation where, okay, I could pause it, but the pause timer is only 15 minutes, so it's not going to last the whole way through. And also, save and quit can sometimes break your game. There's been many times where it messes up certain Easter egg steps. So sometimes saving and quit is just not a good option. You want to just pause it to quickly do what you got to do and come back. But sometimes what you got to do takes more than 15 minutes. So I really wish they would change this. Make it at least an hour or 2 hours. I don't know what they have to do technically to make it work, but I really wish they could. Something specifically about Ashes of the Dam that I'm not thrilled about is that apparently you don't earn any points when you're in the fog. I don't really like this at all because obviously it should be harder to survive in the fog, and it clearly is harder to survive in the fog. There's going to be lots of super sprinters. It's going to be pretty difficult to outrun the zombies, but why should you also restrict my ability to earn points? If you're worried that people are going to point farm in the fog, then just make it so hard that it's pretty much impossible to even survive. I just don't like the idea of being in the fog and feeling like you don't want to kill anything in the fog because you don't get points for it. Like, to me, that's just weird. Maybe you give players less points, but no points? I just don't like the idea of that. And the last point I have is something that I've been feeling for quite some time now, ever since I was expecting this game to be very similar to Black Ops 6 mechanically, and it's the fact that I really think I'm going to rely heavily on cursed mode to enjoy this game. I've been very clear over the past few years that I really don't like the modern mechanics that much. I don't think they're awful, I just don't think it's what zombies should be, and I don't like the fact how we've been seeing those similar mechanics for like 5 zombies games in a row now. I just think it's a bit much, and I would have liked to have seen a change back to a classic zombies feel, and I was very happy to hear that cursed mode was actually going to attempt to do that, and they even went far enough to give us the classic point system in that mode, which I am still so happy about. But I'm really worried that cursed mode isn't going to be what I was hoping for it to be fully, because it can't just be that, even though the classic point system is already a huge change. I'm so happy about that, but if they don't properly balance the mode, if they don't give us stuff like no rarities, I think it's a high chance that this mode can end up not being as special as we were all hoping. I also really hope that cursed mode is available on the survival maps. If it's not, that would be a huge disappointment. And I just hope overall the game is balanced in a way that's still somewhat challenging, but also fun. It's not annoying to play. And there was one thing they mentioned today that kind of worried me a little bit, and I'm still kind of confused about it. I feel like we're all a bit confused about what cursed mode really is. And this is the fact that apparently golden armor is one of the first rewards you can unlock in cursed mode. The reason this is confusing to me is because I was under the impression cursed mode was going to be a lot more challenging than the standard mode, and also that it was going to try to replicate classic zombies in some ways, not exactly, but it was bringing back legacy mechanics to give that classic feel. So I don't really see how golden armor plays a role there. Of course, the mode might have armor by default, and the only way to turn off armor is with a relic. So does that mean if you use that relic, the golden armor reward is just not going to be given to you? How do you even get that reward? I guess we don't really know. I'm not saying they should tell us exactly how to do it, but it does raise the question of how that even works in this mode. If you're using that relic that turns off armor, will that just not let this work, or is that not even going to be a thing at all? I know there was a lot of leaks saying that no armor was going to be something you could do in this mode, but is it possible that won't be something you can do? Or is this golden armor reward not even for cursed mode? Maybe you unlock it in cursed mode, but you then get to use golden armor in regular mode, and I would absolutely hate that, because if I'm playing cursed mode to enjoy classic zombies, I want to get rewards that will help me in cursed mode, the mode that I'm going to be playing. If I'm getting rewards that can only be used in standard mode, then what's the point? You know what I mean? So I really hope that's not the case. I think golden armor should be some sort of side Easter egg, and honestly, I would be fine with having some really overpowered rewards like that in cursed mode. I have nothing against that type of stuff. For example, the God Mask in Black Ops 3's Revelations. That's one of the coolest rewards ever. Honestly, it's kind of similar to the golden armor in the way that it makes you really OP, but I just don't want to see a situation where you get some sort of reward that's not even meant for cursed mode. But they didn't make that clear. They didn't specifically say that. They just said that golden armor is one of the rewards you can get. So like I said, they're being very vague with this mode, and I get why. They're trying to make it very secretive and fun, and I understand that, but I think when you're bringing back legacy mechanics and it's a mode that a lot of people are relying on to have fun in this game, I feel like they need to be a little bit more clear about what this mode actually is going to be like, because fans right now are all over the place. People are saying completely different things about this mode. There are people who have completely different ideas of what it's meant to be or what it's going to be, and none of us really know for sure what it actually is going to be like. Overall, I don't think the gameplay looks bad by any means. I think it does look pretty good. It looks very similar to Black Ops 6, and of course, like I said, a lot of those criticisms could be alleviated just by cursed mode existing, but we have to wait and see, because it's really hard to tell at this point, because like I said, we don't know much about it. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think of the gameplay for Black Ops 7 Zombies? I would love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Peace out, everyone.